Hi guys, let's study how we can draw when we have a knight and the opponent has a central pawn on the 7th rank ready to promote. In this position we play white. White goes that way and black goes that way. As you can see, black already have a d2 pawn, 1 square away from promoting. Also our king is too far away to help preventing promotion. So it's all up to our knight now. And the way to draw here is actually pretty simple. If we can put the knight in front of the path of the promoting pawn, then it's a draw. Let's see this in action. So first we go knight d1. Now most obvious move for black is king c2. Best way for us here is knight d2. Now we control the promotion square. So obviously if black promotes, then we just take, because we only can draw. So our best chance is to draw. So we just take the pawn and then it's over. It's a draw. The knight also here sort of provide barrier for the black king to approach the knight further. So this is already a draw. If black tries other move besides promoting, let's say king c3, here actually there's a fork, knight e4, I'm in check. And then no matter what black moves, we just take the pawn. And again, our only objective is to draw, so this is already a draw. If black moves any other way, then no worries, we just move the king and come closer. Black has no way to proceed in this position, and so it's a draw. The more difficult position is the position such as the one we have on board here, which is the knight cannot reach the front of the pawn yet, but it can reach e2 for example, or d3, which can control c1. How can we draw in this case? The most important thing you have to remember here is to always control the promotion square laterally and not from the rear. So knight d3 is a big mistake here. Instead we should go knight e2 check. Now black goes king d2. And here comes the trick. We go knight d4. We're attacking this pawn. So if black doesn't promote, then we will just take the pawn and it's a draw, right? Let's say any other move, then just take the pawn. It's a draw. But now if black promotes, then there's a fork, which is knight b3. And then it's a draw. Another thing we need to be aware of is if in the earlier position, instead of going to king d2, black goes to king d1 instead, then we switch the knight to the other side by first going knight c3 check, now king d2, and now knight a2. We still control the c1 square, the promotion square. Also we control c3 additionally, so it's not easy for the black king to approach. And yeah, again, this is a draw. Black promotes, then we just take with the knight. Okay, another position. It looks very similar to the previous position. The only difference is that instead of having a knight on f4, now we have the knight on e5. In the previous position, we say that the most important principle when the knight is on f4 is to control the promotion square c1 from e2 instead of from d3. But now the knight is on e5, so it cannot go to either e2 or to a2 to control c1 from the side. So what do we do now? We still should not go to knight d3 in this position, because then king d2 and then yeah, we're losing because the pawn will promote. Instead, in this position, we should go knight c4, because in this position the knight controls d2 and b2 and there's a pawn in c2. So black only has two options here, which is king d1, but with king d1 then come knight e3 check. Let's say any move black does, really, we just take the pawn. And then same thing happening on the opposite side. If black goes king b1, then we go knight a3 check. And it doesn't matter what the king does, we just take c2 pawn and then again it's a draw. Okay guys, so I think the two most important things you have to remember here is that when you have a knight and trying to stop your opponent from promoting, number one, always control the promotion square from the side, not from the rear. And number two, keep in mind the forking pattern that we saw earlier. Sometimes you have to let them promote and then fork the king and the queen after. Also keep in mind that what we discussed in this video only applied to the central pawn. So f-file pawn, e-file pawn, d-file pawn, and c-file pawn. The knight pawn and the rook pawn have slightly different rules, and I will cover them in the future videos instead. So don't forget to subscribe and turn your notifications on if you don't want to miss out. That's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.